Wonderful. So thank you very much to one and all who have joined here and who are still trickling in. So a warm welcome to everyone from the Cancer Catalyst program team through the Cancer Catalyst program. This is a space for raw stories, real emotions, and powerful conversations. We actually often view critical illness like cancer and equivalent as something very life-shattering. And it comes at a stage where we don't have much of choices. So that could be one of the major reasons. And yes, it does disrupt all our routines. It breaks our comfort zones. It brings intense emotional pain with it. But within that disruption, what we have noticed is a hidden force. For many caregivers and families, illness becomes a catalyst, not just for suffering, but a kind of an awakening. It teaches us what truly matters, strips away the noise, and really strengthens our capacity for love, presence, and also resilience. So the Cancer Catalyst, this program is not about diseases. It's not about the hospitals or medical bills or any such thing. It's about the transformation that sparked in those who walked through it and alongside it. Hi, I'm Dhanlakshmi. I'm also known as Dhanam in the coaching world. I'm your host today for this deeply personal and powerful session. As a mindfulness-based life coach and more importantly, as a caregiver to a loved one who faced a critical illness during the COVID period, I have walked through moments that words often fail to capture. That experience didn't just change me. It actually transformed the way I hold space for others. I learned that real care isn't about fixing because obviously I was helpless. I couldn't do much. I had to just be there looking at all the reports, listening to whatever the doctor is saying and whatever my loved one is going through. So it's more about showing up silent, strong, and rooted in love. So today, I bring that same presence here for you along with Rahul and Meera. This session is not a talk, not a speech, but a window into the unspoken thoughts of a caregiver and two survivors, into their shared fears, frustrations, moments of guilt, and last but not the least, the moments of grace. Through the voices of Rahul and Meera, we will explore all that untold side of cancer journey. Like I said, not the medical reports, not the treatment updates, but the quiet struggles, the shifting relationships, the silent strength, and sometimes the loud helplessness. So I invite you all to listen not just with your ears, but with your hearts wide open. We will have a Q&A session at the end. So I invite you to hold your questions for now and simply stay present with us through the stories and reflections that unfold. So let's begin. Meera, to help everyone connect with your journey, could you start by introducing yourself?
Yes, Dhanam. And thank you so much for the lovely opening of the Cancer Catalyst event. Hello, everybody. I'm Meera Naidu, a narrative coach and an integrative cancer coach on my ICF PCC pathway. Since 2018, I've lived with chronic pain, visiting hospitals frequently and still do, enduring painful treatments, accompanied with moments of deep quietness. But just like a tree cut back by storms, yet pushing out new leaves, I've learned to begin again. The quiet strength and hope now shapes how I coach, rooted, present, holding space for others to rediscover their own strength. This journey has slowed me down and deepened my listening. I'm learning to stay with what is instead of always reaching for what should be or what could be, like I used to think earlier. And once again, I bring this example of nature that I'm so tuned because it shows us so much of wisdom. So just like trees that bend with the wind, shed what's no longer needed and still stand rooted, never resisting but constantly adapting, healing and learning are quietly shaping who I am becoming. And in that space, I'm slowly learning to hold others too gently, trusting that their own seasons will guide them back home.
Very beautifully said, Meera, that their own seasons will pull them back home. Wonderful. We would love to hear from you also, Rahul, about you and your journey.
Thank you, Meera, for sharing the powerful introduction of yours. Thank you, Dana, for this opportunity. Hi, I'm Rahul, a life empowerment and transformation coach. I had a tryst with cancer at a very young age when I was 18, just a month before becoming 18. And that shifted everything I thought about what I know about control, certainty, and identity. I was lost. There was a barrage of mixed emotions which made me fade away in thoughts which were extremely surreal. When coaching entered my life, it became a space where I rediscovered meaning, not in perfection, as I think it's an illusion, but in the presence and mindfulness. Silence became a close ally, and I loved that space. Meera and Dharam, as I hear your voices, I already feel the courage and tenderness that this space invites. Before we move on to deeper reflection, I'd like to offer a gentle pause. This isn't a typical panel. This is not about giving advice or offering expertise. The next 1 hour is going to be about sharing lived experiences from the places we usually don't talk about loud. I invite you all to shift inward a little. Let those stories touch you. Let them reflect you. Something in your life, whether you're a coach, a caregiver, a survivor, or just simply someone walking alongside pain in your own way. Meera and Dharam, shall we begin?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Dana, could you please share what your caregiving experience taught about you and your personal presence and how that translates into the way you support your clients today?
Oh, wonderful question, Rahul, and thank you for the beautiful introduction both of you gave. It's nice to know you both. Caregiving actually taught me the quiet power of presence, of simply being there without that urgency to fix. Well, like I earlier also said, there was nothing in my hands to fix. But still, as a loved one is suffering, seeing them suffering, it's a tendency to do something. It is not what it is what I learned. So when someone we love is suffering, especially a partner or someone who leans on us, they actually carry a silent fear. What will happen to them if something happens to them? So the dependent people are the most they are worried about beyond their own pain. That came to me very strongly from my partner, and I learned not to rush in and interrupt those thoughts. Instead, to be strong enough to let them share, let them speak, let them cry, or sometimes even sitting in silence, even when I was really breaking inside. That experience really shaped me how I coach today. I listen without judgment. I create a space where people feel safe to bring their whole truth and gently remind them that they are not alone in what they carry. And through it all, I also realized something that we often forget. Caregivers need care too. We need a safe shoulder, a safe space to pour our hearts out, gather our strength, and return to hold space again. Because it is very natural when, as a caregiver, we share something to somebody, they come up with all the problems they have in their life. The feeling is that, okay, you are making the person feel comfortable talking about your own pain, making them feel that, okay, your pain is not big or somebody else has gone through it. And that actually creates more of panic within the caregiver. So that is one of the learning which I also had, that somebody tells me this is a problem. I don't start telling I also have this problem or I have seen this. I give that space, listen to them, don't judge them, give them that shoulder if it is not a coaching session. So that sacred cycle of giving and receiving, that is where the true healing begins. This is what I learned through the process. Thank you for asking that question, Rahul. I'm almost feeling that same feeling now as I'm sharing that. I'm also curious, Rahul, that what shifted you from inside after your cancer experience, and how does that now shape how you walk with others as a coach?
Thanks, Tanam. Thanks for sharing such a profound and a very deep, empathetic experience of a caregiver. Thank you for the question. The biggest shift for me was discovering a different kind of strength. Not only the strength to fight, but the strength to let go and letting pain to be a temporary part of my life for the abundant gain that was to come. I used to believe that strength was about control and more from the physical aspect. But in the course of time, I understood that, or I learned also, that surrendering and vulnerability are more powerful. That helped me accept what happened. The shift in the mindset helped me connect with certain dreams which I had in life. To become a biker, just a month away was my birthday. And just a month before, I was diagnosed with this tumor, a brain tumor. So yes, when I began thinking about, motorcycling, jumping back into the swimming pool, going for a boat ride in the sea and jumping in the mid-ocean and scuba diving in the Andamans. All these things kept me going through that entire thing. So the shift, what I saw at that point of time, and later on while growing up, I came to understand that shift moved me from being a victim to a warrior. And once I came back home after a cycle of radiation therapy, and besides my bed, was a diary and a pen in my desk. I just opened a page and I started writing. And my dad and sister were calling out for me, and I wasn't responding. They walked into my room and said, "Hey, Rahul, we're calling out for you. What happened? What are you doing?" So I told them I'm writing. And they both cracked up. They were like, "No, Rahul can't be this. Rahul can't write. Rahul's always running outside. He's never back at home on time." All those things, and they were like trying, making jokes about me. And I didn't respond at that point of time. I was still just writing. And as I shared what I had written with them, and when they were reading, I could see tears rolling down their cheeks. And then emerged Rahul the poet. I was earlier a practitioner of Buddhism as well, and I came across a line while practicing and also while reading a book about Buddhism, which says that suffer what is there to suffer, enjoy what is there to enjoy. And as a coach now, I don't try to steer my clients towards goals as quickly as possible. I stay with them, allow them to sink into the process, trust themselves. And that has been a wonderful transition. And I feel that's also been a very special and a sacred ground.
Very beautiful.
So, thank you, Dhalam. And Veera, just reaching out to you for this. How was navigating ongoing health challenges? Because earlier you had shared that you had these chronic health challenges. So, how has navigating ongoing health challenges influenced you as a coach and support healing in others?
That's a wonderful question, Rahul. Being a breast cancer survivor, I'm still not out of the woods. I still am going for blood tests and treatments because I have a rare genetic condition that could manifest either as blood or bone cancers. And that's another very painful line of treatment. But I think by the grace of the divine and coaching, and I'm also doing my diploma in Buddhism and also enrolled for this very, very wonderful narrative coaching program, which talks about stories and how we can just find steady ground to reframe our stories back. So all these have kind of slowed me down and given me a very deep acceptance of myself to just be as I am and to accept whatever is coming my way. I'm very normal. I don't go about discussing things with everyone or don't think, oh, I've been diagnosed with cancer. None of those. It's a journey, and it is a journey that I have to complete. So I think I've just accepted that very, very beautifully by the grace of God. Now I've learned to trust.
It's okay. Take a moment, Meera. It's okay.
Yeah.
I've now learned to trust. No, sorry, apologies.
Don't worry at all, please.
Yes.
I've now learned to trust a very quiet kind of wisdom within myself, the kind of wisdom that does not turn away from pain. Now, I'm trying to hold space with that same presence. I don't hurry people towards answers, but just quietly hold the space until they feel safe enough to be with themselves. This is the heart of my coaching: being with, not fixing, not rushing. Again, as I bring in a beautiful aspect of nature, like a tree in bloom that says nothing, yet leaves a quiet fragrance as you pass, I'm learning to hold that beautiful space, not with answers, but with my presence.
Wow. Very beautiful, Meera. And thanks for that vulnerability. Please don't hold your feelings. Be natural. I'm sure everybody here understands that, and so just be you. Very, very powerful stories that we heard now. And Rahul, you mentioned about this quote: suffer what to suffer and enjoy what to enjoy. Lovely one. So much of positivity around, despite so much of pain behind. That is the best part of this group itself, which is where this Cancer Catalyst program also took birth from. So Rahul, was there something you learned about yourself during your journey that actually surprised you and that probably still guides you today?
Thanks, Dhalam. Yes, what I didn't expect is to discover how much strength there is in letting go of pride and asking for help and letting my caregivers help me. That's a very special and a sacred space. And overcoming pride or letting go of pride and asking for help, I didn't feel weak because I needed that help emotionally and mentally. I needed them to be around me. And I also understood that they couldn't do that always. I saw my mother running behind the insurance people, my dad running behind the doctors for reports, and Yeah, but yes, when they were beside me, and I also understood that they have these things to also cater to, and it was something mystical, it was something scary, it was something dark, it was all a mix of all that. But I was just perceiving myself in that space of time when I had, when they were not in the ward and outside. Uh, I was always very jovial, positive, fun-loving guy, never hard on myself. And thinking about that and this episode or experience of cancer would be the end of my karmic retributions. I was unexpectedly taken in for a health roller coaster ride in 2019 when I had experienced about 5 blackouts, seizures. And in 2020, knock knock, I couldn't hear in both the ears. I woke up and I just couldn't hear. So my parents, I think, were calling me out, and I was not stepping out of my room and trying to gag and all that and shook my ear, but still nothing happened. So when they walked in, I just had to use saying that I can't hear. And upon diagnosis, it was a sudden sensory neuro hearing loss. Fine, happened, what to do? Let's go ahead. So that happened. And situation in 2021 where I came back home after playing a game of basketball in the morning. I went to the restroom to refresh, come back and have some coffee and breakfast. But as soon as I stepped out, I lost consciousness, fell down, hit my head on the floor very hard, and I was diagnosed with a condition called as duro-arteriovenous fistula, which is a reverse blood flow in the brain, and the veins, some misconnection was there, and it was not pumping out the bad blood from the brain, rather circulating it within and creating those pressure which caused the seizures. Wondering what was happening, I just was thinking, okay, what did I do to get all these things? What really happened? I didn't understand because so many medical terms, so many medical instructions were all given and used. I was like lost over there. Even my parents were. Only thing that kept me going was the spirit and coming back to all what I had discussed earlier, what I had shared earlier. So I also began to go to the next phase where instead of just thinking what is happening and what is it teaching me? What is it telling me about myself? And I was able to actually bounce back from anything, being the cheerful person, be it a loss in a basketball match or some friend fighting with me and me also hitting him back and come back to being friends again. But I felt once this uninvited guest, the big C we all call, I felt that innate strength not only to get back on track, but also it kept me grounded in the now, in the present. It made me feel more resilient. And during that course of time, everyone was fearful. It's pretty natural, but I had told them, you know what, fear has two meanings, just like a coin has two sides. So they were like wondering, what do you mean? So I told them that, the way I see it is, you either go with fear, that means you forget everything and run, or you fight fear with fear, or with fire. Fight everything and rise. And surprisingly, I found peace in pain. Bringing this to the coaching aspect, the challenge, I now believe that vulnerability and expressing weakness or surrendering is not weakness. It's indeed a doorway to a wonderful, beautiful connection. Thank you, Dhanam. Thank you so much for that. And Meera, you shared how you're learning to listen to your body space. How has that shaped you? not just as a coach, but as a human being.
Thank you, Rahul, for that very, very profound thoughts. And thank you, Dhanam. So taking in your thoughts, Dhanam and Rahul, once again, it's a deep acknowledgement that I feel for my caregivers who stood by me during that time. And it is because of them that I am in this place, and that experience has reshaped me as a human being and now a coach. As you speak about the doorway to connection, it is such a beautiful metaphor because at every stage we are crossing through thresholds and entering new spaces. So as a human being, it has really quietened me down to quite an extent. Learning to move at my own body space has changed the way I see things now. I no longer measure life in milestones. I measure it in moments of presence to just be with whatever I'm doing. Again, it is like a garden. Some plants may need bright sunlight, some thrive in the shade, but they all belong. So coaching from this space means inviting people to bring their whole selves, even the withered parts they are unsure of, because I have come to believe that even what feels broken belongs there.
Very beautiful. Thank you for those powerful stories, Veera and Rahul. I really love this.
Awesome.
When you said measure in moments of presence and not milestones. That's a wonderful metaphor and very wonderful awareness also. And all present here, actually, it takes a huge courage to openly share this level of information, which is deep inside and what they have gone through so openly. So much of deeper things that are unfolding, somewhat kind of a silent thread that seems to be running through with every journey that has been shared till now. And maybe if I could give it a name, what comes to me is like, maybe I don't call it a formula, but S to P or P to P, suffering to presence or pain to presence, whichever kind of resonates. That's what is running through this whole story, whole journey that we are hearing now. And this is actually the heart of what happens when pain stops being just a pain and it starts becoming a purpose. So if I have to break it down in a simpler terms, pain starts with chaos, grief, helplessness. We didn't choose the pain. We never asked for it. The breakdown moment actually leads us to or makes us become more empathetic, more clear. It creates stillness in us. And like Rahul mentioned, and Meera also mentioned about the presence, it makes us with that sit with its capacity. So you are able to understand that, you are able to work through it instead of avoiding it or running away from it. So for me, if I have to say, suffering came from watching someone close to me in pain, feeling that helplessness, that I can't do anything, I can't fix it. I had to be the caregiver. And the worst period, the COVID, where I can't call my family members, they can't travel. It was the peak time, the first session of it. So I had to be the strong one, the only person who could go to the hospital with a 7-year-old kid to be managed at home. Again, Grace played a strong hand. I had my sibling within the vicinity, so I was able to forget about my son completely, leave him there with her, and just focus on my spouse. While all these things were happening, I was grieving in the inside deeply. Mind was running around. What will happen to me if something happens to them? What will happen to the child? How would I help him grow the way his father could support. So that fear, this fear slowly converted into a shift, which is what I called as presence. I think somewhere now, if I think COVID is a blessing also, because I had to face it, I had to come out of it, mature out of it. So I realized that my silence, my calm listening was actually a gift for me. And that strength wasn't in fixing things, but in letting them pour their heart out without any interruption. And later, I made sure I found a shoulder to lean on so that I could keep showing up fully to the person who was in need of it. So I invite each one of you, as you hear the next round of story, or even reflect later, to ask yourself, where have I experienced this pain or this suffering? And where was that moment of shift to presence? And what helped that pain to presence shift? So this is the lens that can also help us hold our clients with more compassion. Behind every frustration they bring, maybe there is a suffering moment, a pain moment that is waiting for that shift, that presence moment. That is what is coming up to me as I hear all these stories from both of you, Rahul and Meera.
Wonderful, Dhanam. Wonderful. That's such a great concept, or rather a thought you brought about how the shift happens from S to P, and what was your experience in that particular shift? What were all, I can see a deep-rooted emotions, like so much of emotions in that, and you have boldly shared that. Thank you so much. So, thank you for that. Again, I'm just thinking about it and entirety of the shift. As a caregiver's perspective, I could completely resonate because I could just see that shift happening. My parents had to take off from work, be here. I don't know what was going on in their mind, and I had to also jump in and say sometimes, don't worry, I'll be fine. We're all here together, and all those things, just those spaces, sometimes seeing them talk to each other, inside being in silence when sitting beside me, completely resonate. Thanks so much for sharing that, and wonderful and deeply, very, very deep reflection. So going on, Dhanam, as you had just shared this, you're looking back at your caregiver's years. Is there anything specific or any specific moment or memory that continues to shape your inner world?
It is not just one memory, I would say. There is so many moments, all mostly quiet, and every day, with every report, with every advice from the doctor. And I would say one of the best learning I had during that period is not to look into Google, searching for what this report means, what is this negative means, what is that red color means. And then it says this could be cancer, this could be this could be that. It's like it was almost killing me more than the suffering I was looking and going through. So that is one of the major learning, that I should not look into all these information. I should rather just listen to the doctor. And that's what I realized after the whole process went through. And I see my loved one hale and healthy now. So to answer your question, every moment when I saw my loved one not able to sleep every day, actually he was going through pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis, and it is something which there is no looking back. Touchwood, although it was a versus to situation in a benign condition, but we saw the worst stage of it, and by the grace of God, things are in the right pace. So looking back at it, sitting beside him without saying a moment, just listening to the rhythm of his breath every moment, sleepless nights, I realized that love isn't always about doing. Sometimes it's just like being an umbrella in the rain, not stopping the storm, but offering a cover while it passes. So that quiet presence has actually shaped me now as to the coach I am today. I don't rush my clients with any answers. I hold that space like a calm kitten, I would say, early in the morning, where someone can come in and exhale and just be there before all the smells of food barge in. Because sometimes, we actually don't need a solution. It is just that place, that safe space to feel everything without being told to be strong and being given all those examples, sharing, trying to, this is not blaming anybody. Everybody is trying to help you. But what goes in that moment, in that specific person's mind is completely different. Like what I'm hearing from both of you, it's completely different from what I have seen from my loved ones. So that is what I would love to share, that it's not just a solution, it's a space which we provide.
That is so beautiful, Dhanam. I particularly liked the way you described the kitchen and the flavors coming out. I'm just visualizing me walking into your kitchen and just making myself a lovely hot cup of ginger tea. So coming back here, how has the caregiving experience continue to influence your vision as a coach today, Dhanam?
Beautiful. That ginger tea reminds me it's raining heavily here now. I would really love to have one. You are most welcome to make it immediately after the session. So, it actually, your question, how does your caregiving experience? How does it influence my vision? It reminds me every day that people are not problems to be solved, because when somebody shares a problem, we look at, oh, this person needs this, and we focus on the person. No, it is still we need to look at what is the story that is unfolding, which has unfolded till now with both of you. So my vision is actually to hold that kind of space where clients feel free to show up as they are. They could be messy, they could be work in progress, they could be any beautiful stage. And I believe that is where the complete transformation begins. So, having said that, Rahul, what do you listen for in all your sessions that probably you would have missed before this transition in your life?
Thanks, Lana. Thank you for sharing and for the question as well. What I listen now is, earlier I just start with an example. Earlier, I used to be a very reactive person, say in my high school and college days. If someone says something to me, I have to immediately respond without actually thinking about it. Over time, when I went to work, I somehow became a person who responds. Okay, he's speaking, he or she is talking to me. Let me just listen, give them that space, and then respond what I have to say. After that, okay, there are a few people who love to talk. There are a few people who don't talk, who don't share completely. I've maybe moved into the zone of an observer. And once I started practicing coaching, and this necessarily didn't happen when I started practicing coaching, but even before that, through all these challenges, the dark side of life, when she threw me in at it, I knew I would bounce back and come back. And at that time, I was listening to myself more than the external noise, more than the chaos outside. listening to my internal inner voice, and also cheering up the people, the caregivers, my friends and families. Bringing that aspect to coaching, and now listen to the pause. I don't interrupt. I don't react. The quiet moments after someone says something does have a lot of depth and still, especially when it's vulnerable. And that quiet moment still has a lot to be shared. So being there in that moment, just holding that space for them. I would earlier fill in this silence because I was thinking, okay, as a coach, am I supposed to do that? And this learning taught me something very hard, that I have crossed the boundaries of the client without asking their permission if I can. And that's not very right. That's not very good. That's unethical. It's something sacred. Your boundaries are something sacred, be it personal or professional. That was a hard, I mean, people sometimes learn lessons the hard way, right? So that was a hard way I learned that lesson. And now when I put it and now when I stay with it, rather, that's better a word, and provide the same space for the unsaid, I realized that how deeply and innately they can connect from their core with their core. And that silences often hold more truth than words. Going on to you, Meera. So I wanted to ask you that when you have shared your journey, that's so far, and you look at your journey so far, what do you hope your clients receive from you?
And I think thought-provoking question. Yes, when I look at my journey till date, I'm seeing that healing hasn't come from having figured it all out. I'm still trying to figure things out. But I'm slowly realizing that healing is coming from a place where I'm deeply learning to accept what is, like I mentioned earlier too, and not how I want things to be. And I've also discovered this beautiful realization that whatever we are just worthy of love, meaning, and gentleness, even in the unfinished parts. Now what I'm slowly learning to offer my clients is my presence, especially the kind that says, you don't have to be complete to be enough. And during this, I also keep asking myself the same question. Can I meet my own unfinished parts with the same gentleness, with the same quiet care that I offer to those I walk beside? Because I've realized that the journey isn't about fixing things. It's just honoring what's still being discovered. And I think all of us are discovering something beautiful and something really, really profound every single day.
Very true. That's a very powerful way to express it, a very powerful conversation as well with Dhanam and Meera. So as we were talking and expressing ourselves, our experiences, I feel there is a shift in the room. There are so many messages coming in. There are people waiting, I think, to ask us a few questions. I am just presuming that, yes, it can be. Meera, I'm now noticing that when we've shared these deep stories and intense stories of pain, courage, there's a gentle echo of presence that seems over us, that has settled over us. And that echo, how I would like to say that echo is, pain isn't just an enemy. it has a way of grounding us, a way of grooming us, of showing us what truly matters in this very moment.
True, Rahul. And I feel that too. Felt that, and I continue feeling that. What is happening now is in both my coaching and in my own life, I'm slowly seeing pain in a very different way. I'm seeing how pain and presence often come together. Pain, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be mental. It just slows us down. It just asks us to pause, to feel, to notice. And in that space, presence begins to grow. I always used to think healing was about, just getting rid of pain. But now I feel it very differently. It's not escaping that pain, but just learning to sit with it and very, very gently and very, very kindly. So just listen. What is your body trying to tell you? The deeper wisdom that many of us just don't have the time or the intention to listen to it. So to just listen instead of turning away. And here too, I'm asking myself now, what if this pain, let it be physical, emotional, or mental, isn't something to fight, but something to listen to? What if it is the body's very quiet way of guiding me towards something I've just been too busy or too afraid or too distracted to see? What is it asking me to pay attention to? Am I willing to listen? Not to fix, but to just truly understand and stay with it.
Wonderful. I mean, that's something about pain which you have touched upon with so much of elan, but yes, with so much of clarity and confidence as such, to stay with it. Wonderful, Meera. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sorry about that. And we often sometimes think that strength means never feeling weak, physically, mentally, or emotionally. But true strength true strength comes out from within when we acknowledge our limits, when we sit with it, like you said, Meera, or our discomfort, being fully present. We often discover hidden resources. Maybe it's courage we didn't know about that we had. Maybe it's compassion, or maybe it's creativity in solving a hard problem. Presence shows us that power inside pain. What's your take on that, Meera?
Yeah, true, Rahul. As I'm just reflecting upon your question, it's just taking me back to those days in treatment. I'm not trying to bring a negativity here in this conversation, but I'm just offering you all to just look at this in terms of strength, in terms of acceptance. So when I say this, that when I was in treatment, sometimes I used to feel so frustrated, but I learned that showing up for myself in those moments, even if it was just sitting quietly in my garden amidst the old trees that I'm surrounded with, was actually a form of action rather than just sitting in the room. Again, I bring back nature because it has such a powerful and deep wisdom around it. So like nature, which moves at its own pace, I am also learning to trust that quiet wisdom within me to stay grounded.
I love the way how you connected nature and pain, and you both see nature as not just something where you want to spend time with, but there is so much of profound connection with nature that brings so much about yourself, about how comfortable you are in nature, and quiet wisdom. That's something very, very powerful.
Thanks.
We talk about being grounded, and here it is, like how you explained, Meera, very clearly that pain itself can ground us in life. It shows us the roots, because how I associated that was We often see a nice blooming tree, the leaves, the flowers, but behind that wall, we don't see the roots, we don't see the bark of the tree, the hard work it must have done and, to grow and be so beautiful. So it shows us our true roots. It's like staying on a rough path. You might stumble, but a stumble reminds you that you're not weak, you're not strong, nothing like that. But it reminds you that to steady yourself. Yeah, I fell down, just get up, dust yourself, and maybe even find a more enriching and a deeper, honest footing.
True, Rahul. If I can just seek all your permission to just bring this very beautiful aspect that I'm learning in narrative coaching, it talks about all of us finding steady ground. And I think as human beings, we are always trying to steady ourselves through our situations, through challenges, through life. We are all the time trying to find that steady ground, be it on rocks, be it on boulders, be it on slippery places. We are, till the end of our life, I think we are always attuned to finding a steadiness in that. So, as coaches, we also need to carry this into every session and also life. Now, when a client brings pain, our presence can only offer them space to be okay with that pain. We don't have to fix everything in a minute. Sometimes just reflecting back and just telling them, I can see this is hard for you. In the most genuine, in the most humble way, it really helps a person step back into the present moment. We actually become mirrors that say, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to heal this way, the way you want to heal. And it's okay to grow the way you want it to be.
Wonderful, mirror. I think that our experiences make that mirror more luminous. Every time our hearts go through a loss or healing, we learn a lot about empathy. And that empathy is a part of our strength now. I see as a mosaic, broken pieces of pain, but arranged into a picture of meaning and support. We hold together these broken pieces, those pieces when we sit with us, or when we sit with our clients in the space of coaching. And as a coach, we are guiding them to see their own mosaic.
Beautifully said, Rahul. And it resonates so deeply. It is so true, isn't it? We don't throw away the broken pieces of mosaic because they're so beautiful to look at. We just learn to hold them differently. As coaches, we are like very quiet hands helping others to see the pattern that is forming in their own mosaic. Even if some pieces still carry pain, the cracks, the different colors, the uneven shapes, somehow they come together to form a design that is so uniquely beautiful. Even in the brokenness, something meaningful takes shape.
Indeed, completely agree. So as we pause here, I now invite everyone listening, thank you for your patience, to gently reflect. Think of one pain or challenge you faced, be it big or small. Where was its voice? What happened when you turned towards it instead of turning away from it? You might discover that within that painful chapter, that experience, there was a spark of presence that changed you, that changed your environment.
And adding to Rahul's thoughts, I invite all of you to carry this thought with you. Maybe later today, quietly just invite yourself and ask yourself, how has this shaped my kindness and acceptance? There's no need to write anything down or share it aloud in this space. This is just for you. Who knows, the answers might come from a quiet place or a memory or even another question.
Thank you, Meera. Thank you for that. And indeed, it's something we all must think about it. Great. Wow. So as we now have spoken and discussed about quite a few deep insights, experiences from the caregiver's perspective that I'm shared, and from our side, how we were fighting these challenges. We now invite you all into a short space of reflection and sharing. Whatever feels present for you in this moment, I leave you with this reflection. How are or will you let your own pain be a guide toward presence and purpose in your life in the aspect of coaching? Each one of us has that belief, have that capability, have that capacity, even in the darkest times, to find light, to find something meaningful. Carry that question forward. How does my pain become a part of my power?
Beautiful. Very deep information that was shared by both Meera and Rahul. It was a wonderful conversation to hear and learn a lot. So I see that we explored today, and in this last 1 hour, we have uncovered not just the presence in pain, but also the profound growth that can emerge from it, right? Actually, I just made a alliterative set here. When I say alliterative set, it is all the words or phrases that rhyme similar or start with the same letter. So what caught me as a pattern here is like pain, presence, pause, purpose, prayer, progress, persistence, protection, passion, possibility, partnership, and maybe some more which probably I missed to gather here. So the conversation shared today, whether in coaching or in our own lives, reminds me of a very powerful truth. It's often through the hardest moment that we discover our most transformative qualities. Otherwise, things are usually taken for granted. Can I probably say pain gave way to pause, and in pause, we found the presence, and through the presence, we uncovered a purpose. And that is what has turned into this program today. As we now move into our final reflections, I want to invite each of you to think about what quality has been deepened in you during this experience and what hope you carry forward as a coach and as a guide, not just for others, but also for yourself in your life. For me, it has been empathetic learning or empathetic listening, not the kind where we wait for our turn to speak, okay, but the kind where we drop all the judgment, all that urgency to fix, and simply be with someone in their truth, in their moment. So my hope is that more people learn to truly listen, not just with their ears, but with their hearts wide open, because sometimes what someone needs most is not an advice, but a space where they feel safe, even if they are going to fall apart. Like we heard about that mosaic, even if the mosaic is breaking, it should break in a place where people could put it back into a beautiful design and it never regrets. So, and I hope people also find the courage to ask for help. Asking for help is not weakness. It is a greater strength. It takes a lot of courage to ask support without any guilt, without any shame, without the fear of being seen as weak. So there is an immense strength in saying, I'm not okay, and I need someone to hold me through this. whether it may be a caregiver, whether it may be a person going through the pain. In a world that celebrates independence, I want us to remember that healing often begins with connection. And in shared breath, shared silence, and shared humanity is where this connection begins. Rahul, do you have anything from your side to share on this?
Yes, Param, I do. So I know I have come to understand that about stillness. Stillness is not just sitting around doing nothing, but when you're still, I also have seen the understanding of mindfulness. There are two kinds of mindfulness, one which has two L's and one which has one L. So one with the two L's is always thinking about work, about some relationship, about finances, about home, about all such stuff. But the other one with the single L is that you're just in the present, mindful about your breath, mindful about your sensations in the body, mindful about what you want to do at that point of time, whether you take the decision consciously or more than that, subconsciously, because somewhere the conscious mind is more of a reactive place. Subconscious mind is more in depth. So it tells you that this is what I want. And I also sense that the body comes to understand first before the mind does. And like you mentioned the word hope, I have also started not rushing through pain. Let it be there for temporary. I know that. And having said that, the way I perceive hope is in two ways again. Hold on, pain ends. And in life, heaps of possibilities exist. I think, or I feel that instead of complaining, or instead of pulling yourself down, honoring the pain itself is indeed a part of human experience.
Rahul, that was such a beautiful way that you spoke about heaps of possibilities, even in that pain. So I, as a coach and a partner with both of you in this event and in this journey and amongst such wonderful people here, for me, healing feels a little bit like releasing a paper boat into the water. You don't think, that momentary happiness of just releasing it, not knowing where it will go, but just trusting it will find its way. That's how I hold space in coaching too now, with presence and not pressure. Trusting that if we just listen to ourselves, something inside knows where it needs to go. So as we gently close today's event, I can once again bring this to all you wonderful people that it was three voices, three different journeys that were shared, and each journey carrying their own ache, their own strength, and their own discoveries along the way. But what emerged was just one beautiful truth that we have all discovered in this moment, that healing isn't getting back to where you were once upon a time. It is just about coming to terms with yourself for having survived the storms. It's also about accepting that some days will be challenging, and that's okay. Healing invites us to slow down and to reach for that quiet wisdom in our bodies that have always held that place. And I'm slowly understanding is not to rush towards answers, but to gently see what wants to emerge. And as you all carry these stories with you, I invite you all to also carry this quiet knowing that you are all not alone, and your story, every unfinished, every broken, every unspoken part of it deeply matters. So once again, thank you everybody for being here, not just listening, but truly witnessing the raw stories and the emotions that came along with it. I just invite all of you to continue to hold each other with care and honesty.